Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Hope Shot Live. Y'all know that intro was fire. We are doing our Sunday night topics live. So if you are on, please share our feed. Please comment. We love to get your comments. We love to comment back to you. So everybody, please get involved. I've asked Nathan to please read the clarity statement.
Okay, we here at the Hope Shot are a group of people in recovery spreading inspiration. We come from all different walks of life and pathways of recovery. Our verbiage may be different at times, but we all have one thing in common: recovery as a lifestyle. We support all pathways of recovery. It doesn't matter how you get from A to Z, just get there. Thank you for being a part of our family, the Hope Shot.
My man. So tonight's topic is walking the talk, and we get together once a week and talk a little bit about the things that are going on in our lives, and we talk about what the topic is going to be, and this is what we've come up with for tonight. So I would like to hear from Lisa first tonight because she truly does walk the talk.
Thanks. Hey, everybody. My name's Lisa, and I'm super grateful to be here tonight. I really like this topic, actually. You know, in the past, before I, started living this life, um, I used to talk like a whole bunch of bullshit, to be honest, and nobody believed anything I said. I could say things over and over again, and it was always the same thing because my behavior is what people watched. Um, I learned over the years that I learned from different, from other women in recovery, how they acted, how they talked, what they did, how what to stay away from. And gossip is something that it's like toxic. And when you're acting like, or I should say, if you're saying that you're doing something, or if you're living a life a certain way, I feel like your word should be impeccable. That's like the four agreements. If your actions don't follow what your words say, then your words mean absolutely nothing. um, I've learned to be a woman of integrity. I've learned to keep my promises, and if I'm in a group or a meeting or something, I've learned to be a part of the meeting. It took a minute to actually speak up and start sharing, but I feel like that's unfair to people. If I live a certain way, they want to hear how I got there. And it was like selfish for me to not be speaking up and telling people how I got to where I'm at. I'm not saying I do everything perfect or say everything perfect, or because sometimes the craziest stuff comes out of my mouth. It's a process. The whole thing, this whole life of recovery is a process, but it's so interesting. And if you like to learn about yourself, and I just find it intriguing to find out more and more things. Why I do the things I do, why, my actions are the way they are. And I feel like, I feel like, sharing how I got to where I'm at is key to helping others, and showing respect to others. I didn't not have a filter in the past. I didn't care who you are, what you did, what your occupation was. It didn't matter. I had no respect. But at the same time, I was also a people pleaser. So, I could yes you to death, just to get what I wanted. But my actions wouldn't follow, you know. Um, I think that today, I feel like I'm a pretty dependable, um, you know, respectable woman that people see me doing the deal, and they believe what I say when I like share in meetings, or I'm on here, or I go and like I hang out with somebody. They see that, I am what I do. And I feel like if you don't, then like that path starts to go like left, you know? It's I think I probably have this wrong. I feel like if your what is it? If your mind will follow, if your mind, wait, how does it go? Your body will follow if your mind goes. Something like that. I don't know,
I'm
but
gonna
I
say
feel like
body soul.
yes. I feel like if it's practice, it's control. It's control of how you behave and your motives, the way you think, all of it. It's all connected. Um, I feel like revisiting your recovery every day. For me, it's through prayer, it's helping others, it's doing some kind of reading, whether it be motivational quotes or whether it be a book or whatever. I have to stay on top of it. If I don't, I start to turn left and things start to go crazy, and my husband gets all whacked out on me. So, well, I think he does, but yeah, I feel like walking the talk is it takes practice, but I feel like it's somebody can know like everything about recovery because they've been through it. Like my husband, he like Johnny, he went to treatment 14 times, and he could recite things left and right, but until he wanted it, nothing was a he wasn't applying any of it, but like what's anything without knowledge? Or you can have all the knowledge, but what is it worth if you're not actually like using it, for the good? So, but that's all I got for tonight.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I can absolutely relate to the part with Johnny and the rehabs. I went through so many rehabs. I could regurgitate some really good stuff, but my actions never ever matched my words. And I'm sorry, my dog keeps cutting in front of me. So just because I can speak a good game doesn't mean I'm living a good life. And that's where, walking the talk, our actions match up with our words today. And it's a beautiful thing. Integrity is throughout all of our lives. So. How about you, Nate? I caught him off guard.
No, I'm good. I'm ready. I'm prepared. Yeah, so I actually have a couple little good anecdotes for this topic that just came to me when Lisa was talking. When I my first year in recovery, I kind of made I made a decision to just sit in meetings and listen for a change, because I remember I've been coming around the rooms and trying this deal out for a long time. And I remember being 16, at this posh, 5-star treatment center in Bel Air. And they would bus us to the, local AA meetings. And I'm 16 years old in these rooms pontificating about, everything I know about recovery. And, it's just, and then that was just like a repeat process. I just would like Lisa said it, man. I was so full of shit. Like I told myself so many lies that I started believing they were true. I had this fantastical way of because the truth, if anybody knew the real truth about who I was, they would really second guess spending any time with me, or I was just ashamed, basically. Anyway, so yeah, this time around, and I'm doing the deal. I've gotten through my steps, and my sponsor at the time, he told me something that stuck with me since. He told me, he said, Nathan, he says, why wouldn't you share something? And I'm like, because, man, I just felt like I've taken so much that I don't have any, I just want to listen. You know what I mean? I just want to listen. And he's like, yeah, but the way you give back is you talk about your struggles. You talk about where you've been, regardless of where you're at, and when you share, don't, share about what you're struggling with, because I don't care how earlier in recovery or how long you've been in recovery, whatever the deal is, every human being can relate to another human being's struggle. It's relative. So, yeah, for me, walking the talk, man, how do I, how does my actions match what I'm saying? Now, for me, I've learned, to listen a lot more than I talk these days. And, if I am talking, it's because I've done work on myself, and because I continue to do work on myself, and because I am connected to this source, because I'm connected to this fellowship of friends and people that hold me accountable, because I'm constantly helping all these reasons, like, it's hard for me not to be who I am. You know what I mean? And it's funny because, Lisa brought up the gossip thing, and people gossiping. And I had some personal experience with that recently. And it's like, it's funny how quickly from hearing, someone that was talking, like I heard someone that was talking about me, and like how quickly I regressed back into those old feelings of how I used to feel. You know what I mean? And then what's great about this process and this deal that we have going on here is quickly I had a bunch of my friends tell me that's not who you are. You know what I mean? And it's not like I completely sold myself on the idea that I was doing what these people were saying or anything like that. But nevertheless, it did pique these feelings that I used to feel. So anyway, what else did I want to share on? So yeah, how do I show up in my life today? How do I, how can I tell anybody, how can I help anybody and be an example to anybody if I'm telling them one thing and then I'm outside the meeting talking shit and doing something different? You know what I mean? How can I tell somebody about a relationship if I'm banging newcomers and hurting women left and right? How can I tell people about, integrity and empathy when I'm sitting here talking shit about this guy that just came in the door and he's sick and suffering, but I'm making fun of him? You know what I mean? Like, for me, how I act on a daily basis, not just in the rooms, but outside of them especially, man, it's a direct reflection of where I am at spiritually, emotionally, mentally, all these things, man. It all aligns. And how can I possibly reach somebody if they think I'm full of shit? How can I possibly build a rapport with a newcomer or someone I'm sponsoring if they hear me talking about somebody else, or so for me, and I struggle with this because a lot of it goes back to my I spent a lot of time in prison. I spent over almost a decade and a half in prison, right? So and these you pick up these behavioral patterns in there, man, like oh, my word is bond, all that dumb shit, you know what I mean? But today, I can actually say that I am impeccable with my word. If I say something, I do it, and the difference today is I would just say I would do anything back before. Today I know exactly what I can do and what I cannot do. You know what I mean? So having that of knowing myself, knowing who I am, knowing that I'm worthy of something, knowing I have something to offer, these things do not come easy to a guy like me. I worked my ass off to get to a place where I feel comfortable in my own skin. Even I feel comfortable in a crowd. So why in the hell would I compromise that with bad talking or saying one thing and doing another? First of all, and this is the most important, I don't have room today in my spirit for these things. I feel immediately uncomfortable if I can't if I can't do something and it really shows up in my work because I have X amount of accounts. I can only do what I can do. Mother Nature intervenes sometimes, things I can't control, and I can't show up how I want to all these customers. And for me, for a personality like mine, that bothers me. You know what I mean? Even though it's unrealistic and that's okay, I have to struggle with trying to be a perfectionist because sometimes even though I say something and I want to do something, it's physically impossible for me to follow through with that. But that's where the gifts of this recovery deal come into play because, today I can use my voice. Today I can communicate honestly. Today I can apologize to somebody and be sincere. And they know that, and without me even really saying it, what's crazy? This shit hit home the other day. A friend of mine in the program, I was trying to get my nephew a job and he was going around filling out applications and he went to a place where somebody I know is the manager and she saw my last name, Canty. And she called me and she's like, "Hey, is this kid related to you? Who is this?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's my nephew. He's good people." So she saw my last name, Canty, and was like, "Oh, well, Nate's a good guy. This guy must be," you know what I mean? I was like, "Oh shit." It's, I'm finally, known as somebody, not the scumbag, not the thief, not the liar, not the convict, not the junkie, and and then also I'm my nephew's emergency contact. If something happens, they can't get in touch with his parents, they call me. Now, that doesn't seem like a big deal to many of y'all, but to me, this is huge. So it's these little things, man. I still struggle with feeling like a phony. I still struggle with feeling like I'm impersonating. I still struggle with these things on a daily basis. But Lisa said it, man. I have to show up to my recovery every day like this is new to me. Because guess what? I'm coming into every day brand new. I'm looking to experience something different. I'm looking to learn something different. And I can say today that I know I don't have it figured out. I know that I'm still a mess, but the difference is I have a source. I have a God that I believe in, that I connect with on a daily basis. I have this fellowship, which is basically a direct manifestation of who I believe in. And then I have, my service and me helping others. Not just people in the rooms, but, everybody, every human being I can be of service to. And these things keep me humble. They help me continue to grow. And I just hope I can continue, being a man of integrity, to, do esteemable acts, to show up in my friends' and family's life, in every possible way, but also give myself a break when I can't, because I can also get stuck feeling like I owe everybody for who I was. You know what I mean? If I still feel like I'm owing people, then I got some more work to do. And I do. So I continue to do this work, walk the talk. I just try to show up. I try to show up, and it's I just try to follow the path that my predecessors, that my friends, that people I look up to have walked in, and try to do the best I can. I'm basically a man child, just growing up in public and winging it half the time. But guess what? I'm not hurting anybody today. I'm not lying to people. I'm not stealing from people. I show up, I give back, and that's all. That's what walking the talk means to me. So thank you, guys. I love y'all.
Thank you so much, Nate. Kelly, do you want to say something?
No, I think I'm good. I'm talking the whole time over here, and then it comes back on, and I'm like, no. But you know what, Nate? I will say this. Because you walk the talk is the reason why, as soon as any gossip hits, you know, wherever, if that's the reason why your friends are there, nobody believes it. You know what I mean? Like, people can talk all they want to, and that's on them. But because you're walking the talk, that's the reason why it's just basically bullshit.
Because actions will always speak louder than words.
Amen.
Period. That is, we've gone through some things where our integrity was questioned.
Oh, yeah.
And my answer has always been, I won't respond. I won't respond on social media. I won't respond with any words. I will continue to be the same person every single day and let my actions speak. And eventually my actions outprove somebody else's words because I'm consistent with what I'm supposed to do.
Oh my gosh, dog.
And I'm sorry about my dog. But I did want to give a couple shout outs. Angel says, hey, how y'all doing? Hey, Angel, thank you for always being on. We appreciate you. Christina Fish, always on. Thank you, Christina. How you doing? Jamie says, sup, y'all? Sup right back at you. Keita, hey. And Jerry, always on, brother. And Jerry says, happy birthday, Lisa. And yes, happy birthday, Lisa. We love Lisa.
Happy birthday.
I'm going to read a few more, but I think I'd like to hear from Justin first.
Oh, thanks, Caesar. Hey, it's weird being on this side. I like it. Walking the talk, man, that's like very important to me because, you know, there is a lot of times in my addiction where like my feet never match my mouth ever. Like I always have those, you know, like you're in jail, you get the call to mommy or freaking whoever to bail you out. You're like, I promise, crying, snot rolling down your face. I promise I'll change. And as soon as you get out, man, that shit's gone. You know, like you're back in the square one in that mode again, that obsession. It's like, suckers, gotta go, you know? And it's like, man, the shame and guilt that I carried for so long because of the crap I've done in my addiction, like it still haunts me for some things because some things you can't make amends to, you know? So, I mean, you can in a sense, but you can't actually to that person because they're not here anymore, you know? Some of it's like my grandma. You know, my grandma, I was so manipulative to her, you know, and that's something I can't take back. And so my amends to her is just living right now. You know what I mean? And it's like doing what I'm supposed to do, taking care of my kids, being good to my wife, you know, showing up for people when I say I'm going to show up, treating the ones that I do have with respect and not being a fuck up, you know? You know, I was just so sick of that person that I was. You know, I remember just borrowing money from people, always saying, I'm going to pay you back. I promise. I've always done work and jobs. And I'm like, I promise, man, let me just get this job done. You know, even if sometimes there was no freaking job, you know, I would just make this big thing up, you know, this big scheme, you know, I was a schemer and say that I'm getting all this money and there was nothing going to ever happen, but I would put, you know, lies and just any which way I can manipulate it to get high, I would. And it worked almost every time because they cared about me. I used somebody else's love for me to get what I wanted. And that's just, it's a sad thing. And it was just anybody and everybody that ever loved me. That's what I did. You know, it didn't matter who it was. You know, today it's totally different. You know, one thing that I'm very proud of is my wife even said in her vows that I'm the same person behind closed doors as I am in the public. And that's true. I am authentic. I don't sugarcoat nothing sometimes. Sometimes I just don't want to be that guy anymore. And as soon as I start slipping up and doing the exact same things, I'm in trouble. And I know it for a fact. Like, then all those bad behaviors come back, and I still got so much work to do on myself that I don't want to freaking pause anything or fall back into that old mind frame that I was. One thing I'm grateful for is I could be there for my kids. You know, there was a time in my life when I was not there for my kids, and showing up for them is like very important. even when I don't want to sometimes. But I show up for them because I say I'm going to. And even, like some people you don't want to show up for and you do it anyways, just because you have to carry yourself that way. I have people out there that are still, doing their thing. And sometimes I don't want to show up for them, but I do anyways, or have somebody to talk to. And it sucks sometimes, and listen, I'm not perfect. I'm far from it. I fall off half the time. People say one wrong thing to me, man. I'm like, it's quick. I snap quick, so quick. And I don't mean to. And then I have to take that back. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, as soon as it comes out, it's like, yeah, no. And you're trying to grab for it. And you're like, oh man, did I actually just say that? Like, I really have to start pausing before I speak, because sometimes, man, the reactions that come out are just not where I'm supposed to be. And some days are better than others, but like I deal with customers and stuff. And this one guy called me a joke the other day because he didn't get what he wanted. And it's like, I was like, okay, and you just got to kind of like, it is what it is. But me, I wanted to be like, a joke? I'll show you a joke, And I'm like, legitly, like, I don't get that much, but that one time, man, it just has happened yesterday. And I just wanted to go off on him. But then where does that leave me? You know what I mean? Anything how I react with people, it's all on me. Everything that I react to in a negative way, and anger or anything like that, it's a reflection of me. You know what I mean? It's what I have going on in me, and like lately I've been that way, I've been off, I can get wrapped up in certain things quick. I can get, not do work on myself because I don't want to look at it. I don't want to look at me, even though I want me to be the center of attention, I don't want me to do some work. You know what I mean? And that's not a good thing for me. I need to make sure. And I, thank God I got some people in my life that like put me in check half the time, at least half, the other half I have to come up with myself. And that sucks sometimes because I like sitting in my own shit too. So yeah, today, man, walking the walk, talking the talk is super important, man. I could say one thing to anybody, but if I'm not living it, dude, then what am I really doing? I'm being clean, living dirty, and, so I just got to make sure I keep myself in check all the time and keep making sure that I, do this life like I'm supposed to be. So thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Justin.
Before you say that, Justin, you know what? When you were mentioning being there for your kids, anytime anybody talks about this, I think about how powerful this is. If you really just take a step back, a lot of us come from generations and generations and generations of this, trauma and addiction. We are literally breaking that cycle for our kids. We are showing up. Like, that is so powerful when you stop and think about it. It doesn't have to continue. We can stop that pattern. We can heal, and they can raise, their own healthy families. Like, that's when you think about it, at least for me.
No, it is, because I mean, I was raised by like in a non-healthy environment, and now I'm a non-healthy person. And now that I am, and I can show that, then, it changes them too. Everything we do changes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just like anything else.
And then Justin said something that made me think of something, which is, I don't know if this gets shared enough either, to like, I have a responsibility, because guess what? There's people watching us, man. There's people still out there struggling, have no idea how to get this thing, man. And they see people like us where we've been, and I have a responsibility to carry myself a certain way, man. So when people see me, and I don't know if they're seeing me, I don't know when they're looking at me, that is a big reason. That means something to me, to be a representation of something pure, to be a representation of something healing and transformative. to be a part of something that offers hope and not judgment, faith and not skepticism, love and not hate, like all these things that I stand for today that have been, gifted to me from my source and my fellowship and my friends and, I take that as a real serious responsibility to follow through with and live up to, because, that means something to me. That people, you see the memes and stuff, and you don't never know who's watching you, and that's true, man. And that doesn't go just for when you're in a meeting either, or doing something recovery related. That means when you're in traffic driving like a jagoff. That means when you're at the fast food place being a dick to the lady at the counter. That goes everywhere you are, man.
Tipping.
Huh?
Tipping, not tipping.
Good. Tip good.
Yeah.
I know for a fact everybody in this room is good tippers.
But you hear it all the time, though, man, about people not tipping like they're supposed to, and I'm like, how can you do that to people? It's just wrong. Hey, I wanted to back up a little bit on a comment I'm going to put up on the screen, and maybe you can give her, Nate, maybe you can give her some words of wisdom. But this is right here. About her son, and she's watching. She just commented again. You can see it, Nate, right?
Yeah, I got something to say about that.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I promised. Listen, I wanted something different for so many years. I would say I wanted it, and I meant it. You know what I mean? But until I was truly done, until I was truly beaten up enough, there was nothing, nobody, not my mom, not my dad, not losing my daughter, not 14 years of prison, not 10 treatment centers. There's nothing that could have been done to make me do anything different than what I was doing at that time. Okay? And then something happened, a shift. It was momentary. A window opened and I jumped through it. And how did that window open? Why did that window open when it did? Why was I prepared at that moment to jump through said window? I don't know. I think it's beyond us. I think it's beyond me for sure. I believe that I had an infinite amount of opportunities to jump prior to that, but it was just something. It's something personal. It's something individualistic. It has to do. For this guy here, it had to do with how much pain I had suffered, and not pain from losing any material thing, not pain from any time I spent in prison, not the promise of death, which was inevitable for a guy like me. It was just that internal emptiness, that void, that lacking of any joy or happiness or, serenity and it was, but you know what? Even that, I've been feeling that way for probably 10 years, probably longer, when it stopped getting fun, which was rather swiftly. So, I don't know when someone's supposed to get it. I just know that for me, it was it had to do a lot with, just being broken and beaten and done. And then couple that with an opportunity, which for this guy meant going to jail because that was the only way I could have stopped. And then recognizing that all as acts of something divine, because something greater had to save me. I couldn't save myself.
You know what? To take that, was that Jane who said that? Is that, yeah.
Yes, Jane.
Yeah, Jane. But you have to take care of you. Like, I always like to make sure, like, you have to focus on healing yourself. You can't, it's so hard, especially when it's, your child, but there are support groups. There are people out there who, go through the same things with loved ones who have addiction. Focus on healing yourself and setting healthy boundaries, right? Like of course, you're going to love your son forever. Of course you are. But setting healthy boundaries means saying, I'm not going to enable this anymore. I love you. I'm here for you 100% when you want to get help. You know, he'll know that he can go to you when he actually wants that help. Like, we have to take care of ourselves first. We can't force anybody to do anything. It's so heartbreaking when it's a child, like so incredibly heartbreaking.
Yeah, I mean, I can say in the comment it said when payday comes. Well, if I still had a job when I was out there, I wasn't ready because I still had this is me speaking about myself. I can't speak for anybody else, but if I had a job, I wasn't ready. If I had a home, I wasn't ready. If I had to reach a point where I ran out of my own ideas because I tried every way I could to wiggle out of this. Oh, I'm going to outgrow it. Eventually, I'll get sick of it. I'm just going to work harder and get more money, and the money will make it go away. And I tried all those things, and I ended up homeless, friendless, overdosed, and it was just miserable. And I see the comment, who's going to save you? You have to save yourself. Yeah. You have to stand up and say, when you've had enough of losing your peace of mind over this, and start taking care of yourself. And you can still be there for your son, but you're going to have to put your well-being first.
But there are people, like I said, there's people out there who you can bond with over this, and you can, you know, there's support groups for this as well. You have to save yourself, but you don't have to do it alone. And if you need help finding one of those support groups, actually my nonprofit is starting one here soon as well. Reach out, send us a message, and we can get you, a list of whatever area you're in, one of those support groups.
Get you connected to the services that are in your area.
Yeah, I know. My mom and dad really unconditionally loved me throughout my entire addiction. You know, they were there the entire time. And towards the end, I mean, my mom was literally dying from cancer, the effects of it. And to see and even that, seeing how hard and she struggled and how solemnly she begged me to stop, and how I continued to do the same thing over and over, it's so baffling, man. It's cunning and baffling, not only the lengths we go to, but the lengths I realize now my mom and dad went to, and the suffering that they experience because of it, and poor souls, you know what I mean? And I wish, man, I say that, like I wish they would have gotten involved with some of these support groups, but they love me so much, man. They didn't want to hear any of that. They're like, nope, I'll continue to love my son. God bless their souls, man. But yeah, if I couldn't change for my parents, I don't believe any soul can change for anybody else. Like Caesar said, man, Caesar nailed it. Talking about there's nothing, as soon as we run out of our own ideas, man, because there's always one more, man, and yeah, the job, the car, if I have that, I got a lot of running to do yet, man.
So I know for me, like when my mom, when I got to a point where it was just unbearable to even watch, my mom cut me off. It was hard as hell for her. I know it was, but I believe she got some guidance from someone, and she stuck to her boundaries. She actually got up and moved like 4 hours away. So I literally couldn't go to her for anything anymore. She cut me off. And I mean, as hard as that has got to be, sometimes it's the only way, because if it wasn't for that, then I probably wouldn't be sitting here. She enabled me to the fullest. She would pay my bills. She would drop off food. She would drop off cigarettes. She would drop off all these things, just to even make sure I'm alive, because she was so worried about me, but there came a time where she was just done. And I think she knew that she was enabling me to continue what I was doing, and I was going to end up killing myself out there. But I feel that, same as everybody else, getting support, talking to women, mothers like you that are going through the same thing. And there's so many out there, I think that will be probably the best thing for you, is just having someone to vent to and to talk to and get suggestions from, and, and just putting it out there,
and then smash the illusion that, that just because you're setting boundaries and getting help doesn't mean you still can't go to any lengths or unconditionally love whomever, you know what I mean? But it's just like us. Same thing applies to us when we come into this deal and we're ready to save the world. But I don't have a goddamn thing to offer. I have nothing. You know what I mean? So let me get myself right, so I have something to offer. And I think the same thing applies to the people, the indirect victims of this deal, man. Take care of yourself so you have something to.
A lot of that was the same for me too. My parents, man, like I say it's so heartbreaking when it's a child, because I watched my mom go through this. Like, her family had addiction issues. She literally moved her family away from, like, my brother and I and her immediate family away from her family that she grew up with, to try to separate us from the addiction. And then when I started going through it, she didn't know anything about, addiction as a genetic component or anything like that. She just thought if I separate it from, the influence of it, that, it would basically save her children from it. And when I started going through it, I was her child, she couldn't help jumping in and rescuing me. And I was a person who, I tried to run away from everything. I went from state to state, from Detroit to Chicago to Virginia to, whatever state that I was in. And every time I would burn out, and she would come and get me because she wanted to love me back to health. And unfortunately, that never worked until, I hit my own particular bottom. I'm not a believer that every single person with addiction has to hit a bottom. For me, I absolutely had to hit a bottom. And I think a lot of people, most everybody here, had to hit a bottom.
There's levels to bottoms, there's levels.
Absolutely.
There's definitely levels,
Yeah, I never hit a rock bottom. I hit it and I dwelled there for about a decade and a half.
There's trap doors underneath that
There you
bottom.
go.
Too. I want
guys,
to share a little bit on this real quick. Hold on, Justin.
Sorry.
I want to make sure that I give a shout out to Keita. She got 11 months yesterday.
Oh,
so,
yay! Congratulations. She's always on too.
Yeah. So, congratulations. And our boy Russell's on here, and he shared his story last week, and he did an amazing job. So, hey, what's up, Russell? Thank you for joining us. Do you have something to say, Justin, or do you want to share a little bit?
I have one comment I want to just
go ahead.
I have one comment I wanted to hit real quick, and it's everybody mentions God, and I'm in their recovery. Is it possible to recover without God? Please, no offense to anyone. I really struggle to believe. But let me just say something real quick on this, okay?
No offense at all, though.
Yeah, Justin.
I struggle.
Great, dude.
I struggle. I have 3.5 years clean. So, like, the best thing I could tell you is break it down like this: good, orderly direction. That saved my butt so many times. And like, higher power can be whatever you want it to be. It could be people in your support system. Like that was my higher power forever. I struggle with that still today. And, but I'm still here. I'm still doing recovery. You don't have, it's not this, I overthink everything in my recovery. So like, I'm thinking like there's supposed to be some like fireworks going off and some other things. And it's not, it's no fireworks.
And
it would be
but
cool. But
too, there's programs. I mean, we talk about personally our personal stories, and I personally believe in God, and that's a part of my recovery story. But there are programs out there like Smart Recovery, therapy, like cognitive behavioral therapy. If that's just not, the way you choose to go, there are all different kinds of programs that don't really focus on the spiritual component, and it's more scientific kind of things. But there's a program for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, the acronym that Justin said, I've heard it as good orderly direction. I've heard it as the great outdoors. Don't get stuck on the word God.
Yeah.
All of us end up finding our own path to a higher power, a power greater than ourselves. But there are many ways to do it out there that you can leave God completely out of it. And we on this show are accepting of any path. We just want, it's in the clarity statement. We just want people to get from A to Z. We don't care how you get there. We just want you to find recovery. I want to share a little bit about the topic because I hadn't had a chance to yet. Walking the talk, and I can spin it around too to this. My parents heard me spin stories in BS my entire life. Everybody in my life, I told them what they wanted to hear, is that way I would get what I wanted. You want me to be sober? Oh, I'm sober. I'm doing great. I get arrested 2 days later. I spent the better part of 25 years probably not breathing a sincere word, just BSing my entire life. And then when I come into recovery, they tell me I need to change everything. That's what I was told. The biggest thing I needed to change was my words. I had to stop talking bullshit. And like Nate did, I got quiet and I listened and I learned. Because everything that came out of my mouth, one of the first things I told the guy that took me through the work was that I'd been through 5 rehabs and I knew the lingo and I could tell him all of that crap. And he said, well, I wish you hadn't told me that because now I'm not going to believe a word you say. And I said, well, I'm telling you that because I'm trying to be honest for the first time, man. It's so important. I listened, I learned, and I made the changes that when I got out of that rehab, it meant something to me. That if I told you I'm going to be here at this time, I'm going to. I'm gonna walk 5 miles, at midnight. If I told you to be there, I'm gonna be there. And I've got 25 years of experience on how to be a scumbag. I've got 7.5 years of experience on how to be in recovery, be responsible and reliable. So I have to practice every day. Just like those 25 years of practice made me the best junkie thief you've ever seen. I got to practice every day at being a good human being, at being a good friend, and being a good representation of recovery, because we've all touched on it. Mm-hmm. I might be the only example of recovery somebody sees in a day. I need to be a good example so that if somebody needs me, they're not going to reach out to me if I'm acting like a scumbag and I'm only practicing recovery 2 hours a day, 1 hour on this meeting and 1 hour somewhere else. And the rest of the time, I'm just running around full of self-will. I have to do it all the time. And it's not easy. Integrity is not easy. Doing esteemable acts is not easy. Cutting corners is easy. Lying is easy. But I practice day in and day out. And then it becomes second nature. My first thought today is not to rip you off, where that was always my first thought. My first thought today is, how can I help somebody? Mm-hmm. But that has taken tons of practice. And it's the results from that practice that keep me doing it. The results are I can lay my head on my pillow at night and feel like a good person and not run the day through my head thinking about all the shady stuff I did. And is somebody going to knock on my door or bust my window in? I don't have those thoughts anymore. I don't look over my shoulder anymore. If a cop gets behind me, the only thing I do is look down at the speedometer and then I go, okay, I'm good. It's not like I don't get filled with anxiety and fear anymore, but that's through practice. And if we don't practice on a daily basis to be a better person and a better human being, then I'm stagnant and I'm probably working my way back to being the piece of crap. And I know everybody on this podcast, they practice hard every day. We come out and we get on here and we do our best to represent what recovery looks like, what our lives look like for real. There's no BS on this. Like, we share the good, we share the bad. We have hard days, we have wonderful days. I see big wins that are miracles in people, and I see horrible losses. But none of those can be an excuse for me to go backwards. I take the losses as a lesson, and I take the wins as a blessing, and I keep it moving forward. And, my life has gotten better every single day, year after year. And another big part of that, when they said I had to change everything, I had to change the people I spent my time with. I can't sit around and expect to, walk the talk if I'm hanging out with my old people all day long. I'm hanging out with people that want to lift me up. They want me to do better. I want them to do better. And when that's going around, you have no choice but to do better. You're surrounded by go-getters that want a better life. That's what you want to do. Mm-hmm. So, words are powerful. You can speak beautiful things into existence, or you can speak nightmares into your life. That is my experience. And if we're only harping on negative and no solution and all problem, you'll speak that into existence. And if I'm talking about miracles and beauty and doing good things, and if I'm spending, there it is right there, Rachel, blessings. If I'm talking about blessings, I'm probably going to speak blessings right into my life. It's it's beautiful, but I don't want to paint the picture that our lives are perfect by any means. When we say walk the talk, we walk a hard road on a daily basis. And we do it with a little bit of grace today, because we never did anything with any grace before. We were Bambi on the ice. We were a hot mess. So, that's my experience with it. It's, what's this? You can't soar with eagles
if you hang with chickens. I love these analogies.
Thank you, Russell. Exactly. Exactly. I have to be mindful of who I spend my time with.
Yeah, and it's not always easy. Like, we were talking about gossip earlier, and Nate was talking about a thing. Caesar talked about how we struggled with it. Walking the talk, talking the walk, walking the talk is not always the easiest thing to do. Justin mentioned how, he just wants to, punch someone sometimes. Like, we had a serious situation that happened to us. Man, I cannot tell you enough, like, how much this guy here responded. Like, every time I wanted to just strangle somebody, he responded with so much calm and so much grace. And this was probably a 2-year situation where police were involved. It was just absolutely an insane situation.
Okay, now you got to give backstory.
Well, you can tell the backstory. It's your story. But I'm saying, when it came to responding responding with grace, it was hard. We go through stuff too. It was not easy to do that. But you know what? 3 years later, even the people who may have had second guesses about what they heard about us, you better believe they've come back around to us and been like, I'm so sorry, because your actions speak, but it's not always easy.
No.
You can give a little backstory.
I guess my only advice is, be impeccable, because somebody might call you out. Mm-hmm. And if you're doing the right thing all the time and somebody's talking crap about you like they did about me, I don't need to respond. I just keep doing the right thing.
It's so hard. It's so hard.
She wanted me to respond. I wouldn't respond.
But hey, that's the epitome of walking the talk. Listen, when things are going great, it's easy to be of integrity, to be of honesty, to have good character. It's when the shit hits the fan. How do you react then? Which is why it's super important to continue to connect and to do this deal on a daily basis, to prepare for this inevitable life happening, because it's coming. Something's going to occur. Something's going to shake your world. Something's going to rock you. And how do you react then? How do we deal with crisis? How do we deal with disrespect? How do we deal with people lying about us? You know, do we go into shambles? Do we, do we react violently?
No, we make the hope shot, bro.
We make the hope shot.
Wait, hold on.
You do.
Hey,
He just said that. Johnny
in
just
the
said
world
that.
right there.
He
This
did.
awesome show came out of somebody talking crap.
Trying to ruin somebody's life, trying to ruin their livelihood, you know.
And this was the response.
this
this is the
whole
response. The hope
podcast
shot.
is the response.
The whole shot was the response to a negative interaction. You know, you can't fight negative with negative. You got to do it with positivity. And sometimes you just need to shut up.
Justin
But-
started this. He helped us plan an event that had the entire community come together and do something healthy. Like, you can take that energy. The first time I started working at, like, the first couple of months I started working at the job that I have now, I was 9 months or so into recovery, and I was angry. I was angry about all kinds of things, the way I was treated, the way the hospital treated me, the way the treatment place treated me. And I had a boss, and I mean, I don't even think she knows how what she said to me changed me. But I was like, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to, advocate for this. And she was like, you want to do all those things. How are you going to channel that energy? And she took my passion and my angst for what happened. And she taught me, she's like, why don't we write a press release for this? Why don't we do an event for this month? And that's what you respond. I'm not saying, press releases and events or whatever, but you respond in a way that you take that energy and you channel it for good. And that it's a prime example what Justin did with this show.
It takes more energy to respond negatively than it takes to respond positively.
What
Like,
is what does Johnny think? Let's get
Yeah,
Johnny on here for a
yeah.
couple minutes.
Yeah.
Come on, bro.
Hey, he spilled the beans. It's over there in the cut.
He's working really hard over there.
Doing homework.
Give us a couple minutes. A cameo.
Drop it, bro.
Come on.
Okay.
We good?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. You look good. You sound good.
So I don't really know anything about this, man. I've been walking the walk my whole life. So no, I have plenty of experience in this area, actually. I am. I toyed around with recovery before my stint now. And, it was really kind of, I like to say, my introduction. And I was full of shit, man. I did exactly the opposite of what this topic is. I talked a lot. I showed up, because I was at a point in my life where I was willing to do something to change, but I wasn't willing to do everything that was suggested to me. So I picked and chose, and I paid dearly for it in the long run, me and this whole group, we've talked about it before. I also think that is one of my most valuable things of experience having to do with recovery, because today I know better, so I do better, and like I say this all the time, I don't do this perfect, man, but my life today reflects how I walk, and how I talk. It's pretty simple. I was full of crap my whole life, man, just like Justin and Caesar and Nate talked about, man. I would do anything and say anything in order to get what I needed, and whoever got in the way, would get harmed, basically, in one form or another, whether it was emotionally, spiritually, whatever. And then, I came to a point where there was no one else to lie to. There was no one else to talk to. It was just me by myself alone. And I had to make a decision, Then I had to make a decision, and I had to follow it with action. And it was awkward. We are awkward, especially, like what you said, Caesar, because it's the truth. I practiced being a great criminal and a great addict and all those things, man. So I have to wake up in recovery every day and practice being a good human, man. And I'm far from perfect at it. I really am. I'm learning as I go. I don't really have a manual. I have a couple of, I have a couple of ideas that have been passed down to me, which have been working amazingly in my life, man. But, when you guys were talking and I was sitting here reading, I thought to myself, this experience I had this week where my therapist from 12 or 13 years ago asked me to come into the prison system to mentor some people. And I know if I was not walking the walk, I would definitely not be being accessed into a prison to talk to somebody. And then they let me out,
So you get access back out.
What an interesting concept.
Yeah, it's crazy. What a feeling, man. That was something special for me. And
No, but hey, and then Johnny, you walking the talk got me sober.
Yeah, the attraction of it did.
Yeah, I saw you and I said, man, this shit must work.
Yep.
It's gotta work.
Yeah.
Me too.
And luckily, Nate, we have had that experience with a number of people that we know, man. Justin, yeah. And that's the beauty of this thing, man. Because I tried to do all those things too. My first time around, I wanted everybody to get sober. I was actually in a hotel room reading a big book to an ex-girlfriend who was nodding out on me. And I'm like, just listen to this part. Just listen to this part.
It's mind-blowing.
I had to do, like I say, I'm not lying when I say I've done everything ass backwards in recovery, man. And it's been my greatest learning tool. It really has, man. It really has, because I'm learning every day. I need to remain teachable. The minute I shut down, I'm screwed, because I only know what I'm willing to learn, and to be open-minded and continue. So that's all I got, man. I got to finish up this homework. I love you guys. And it's funny, Justin, when you said that with the anger thing, the first thing that came out of my mouth was the Hope Shot gets created from it.
True.
And if you're watching, we would love to thank you.
Yeah. Definitely. Grateful.
You see that comment?
Yeah.
You see that comment, Nate?
Ooh,
Man,
It's okay.
listen,
You caught
welcome,
that.
Russell.
yeah, I messaged Russell after because we were watching it. Remember when I was over, and I caught a little bit at the end. And man, I was in county jail with Russell this last time. I was on the way to treatment. He was on the way to prison, and we did some things. I looked out for him as much as I could. I planted some seeds because I already surrendered and made a decision in there. And he still had some ideas left. And he got out of prison, and I plugged right in with him. I showed him how I was living, that I walked the talk, and he still had some ideas left. And just to see where he's at today, what a beautiful deal, man. I mean, and only people that know, I know where he was, and I know where he is now, just like Johnny knew where I was and where I am, and vice versa. And someone had asked about the God question earlier. It is super hard to deny something divine when you see the transformation happen in front of your eyes. When you see someone that was completely destitute, without options, without hope, without faith, just done, and they're living a life of love, laughter, happiness, joy, compassion, integrity. I can't deny it personally. You know what I mean? And to see Russell get it, that's why I keep coming back. That's why I keep doing this. That's why I keep showing up the best way I can possibly, show up on a daily basis.
Those ripple effects are real. Like Russell's girlfriend, thank you. Russell's girlfriend, Rachel, but she was there. But the part that she leaves out of this is that she was there for me in early recovery before she kind of went through some of her stuff. And I was a week spanking new, shaken. And she was the one talking to me and telling me I could do it, and being there for me. And then I saw her go down, and I would just reach back every once in a while. And now she's sober, and her boyfriend, and it's just the ripple effects are amazing. Take a step back and look every once in a while. It's just it's amazing.
Our addiction sends waves of pain all around us, and now our recovery sends waves of hope all around us, and it's just freaking awesome, man. I love it. And I love
there's for myself, there's still some days that I struggle with this topic right here, and like
Absolutely.
helping other people, because I get so attached to what I shouldn't, which is what I think the outcome should be of the person, or what I think is best for them, because I have no clue what is best for them. I know what's worked for me. I know what's worked for hundreds of other people in my tribe, but it doesn't necessarily work for everybody. That's why what Kelly was saying earlier, and Justin, there's multiple pathways to recovery. It doesn't have to be the one we chose. You know what I mean? In one form or another, there's so many different ways to find recovery and to change your life. It doesn't have to be through a 12-step process necessarily. There's just hundreds of things out there, man, that'll help you change your life. For me, I'm going to touch on the God thing for 2 seconds and be done with it. But the thing, I struggled with it too. I was raised Catholic my whole life. I went to Catholic school, communion, confirmation, all that. As soon as that was done, God was like non-existent for me until I was 38 years old. And there was little glimpses of it. I heard it. I tried to get into it, but when, as laid out in the 12-step process that I chose to go through with a sponsor, all he told me was, man, all you have to do right now is be willing to believe. I didn't have to believe in anything, because I didn't. I really didn't. But I believed that it worked for him and everybody else that I knew that was on fire and changed their life. So I took the suggestions that were given to me, and that was, at the time, I just became willing to believe. And that's all I needed to do at that moment until I continued with this process. And just like Nate said, things happened that were undeniably not of myself, definitely of something way bigger than me or human or anything else like that. So that's just my personal experience with God. The
I know we're at 9:05, but everybody talks about it different too. Like you hear Nate say source. It's a God of your understanding. If you don't call that entity or that being God, it's whatever you can conceptualize as something that's greater than yourself. It doesn't have to be
entity, God. Being, force, thing, whatever.
And don't overthink it.
Right.
Yes, Lance was the one that planted the seed for me, man.
Telling a bunch of addicts to not overthink it. That's funny. We overthink everything.
Yeah. Yeah, everything. Hey, listen, I want to shout out Leslie. We've been talking to her for a while. She has 27 days from alcohol and meth, dude. That's amazing. Keep going at it.
Amazing.
Yes.
Awesome. Congratulations. Fantastic.
Yeah.
You got any more, Puppet Master?
Puppet Master. I like this. That's it, man. That's all the comments, bro.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody who tuned in, and all of our lives are events now. So if you click going on the events, you will get notified every week for the upcoming event. Don't forget about Wednesday nights, 8:00. We have our Addiction to Success.
Not this Wednesday, though.
Nope.
Not this Wednesday.
Sorry, guys.
I'm taking a break.
Tiffany, you're my favorite.
Yeah.
We love you, Tiffany.
Yes, we
love
do.
you.
Don't forget to keep going. All it's going to do is remind you weekly that the thing's coming up, so you can join in and comment and have some fun with us and get a little bit of hope. So that's all from me. Anybody else?
Love y'all, man. From
Love you
Chicago.
guys.
I love y'all.
Everybody.
Good night.